Okay. Good morning. My presentation is on efficacy of micropulse laser diode photocoagulation. So refractive glaucoma is defined as uncontrolled glaucoma despite maximum medications and surgery. Patients with refractive glaucoma and no visual potential is ideally treated with cyclodistractive procedures. But patients with refractive glaucoma and a good visual potential are first treated with filtering surgeries. Of late, micropulse laser diode laser photocoagulation has been proven to be very efficient in patients with refractive glaucoma. The mechanism of action between the conventional diode and micropulse cyclophotocoagulation is slightly different. The conventional diode has a continuous laser delivery which causes thermal damage and thereby it decreases the production of aqueous humor. Whereas in micropulse, there is repetitive short pulses with an on and off cycling mode of laser delivery, which causes minimal collateral disruption. There is biochemical cascade dysregulation, which causes an increase in uveoscleral outflow rather than thermal damage to the ciliary epithelium. So, micropulse laser procedure is generally being done in the theater setting under peribulbar anesthesia. A micropulse probe, MP3 probe, is used, and it is specifically designed with and the power used is 2000 megawatts and a duty cycle of 31.3%. The fiber optic tip is specifically designed, which has a piezoelectric crystal inside, and a continuous sweeping motion is done in the superior hemisphere and the inferior hemisphere, trying to avoid 3 and 9 o'clock for about 80 seconds in both the hemispheres. So why this study? This study, the technology was relatively new, and it has been proven to have less adverse effects and can be used to control intraocular pressure even in patients with good vision. And there were no Indian studies at the time of abstract submission. So we aim to evaluate the efficacy and safety of micropulse transcleral diode photocoagulation in Indian eyes with refractive glaucoma. It's a prospective interventional study in a tertiary eye hospital. After ethics committee approval, all eyes had visual acuity and intraocular pressure measurement at baseline. A single surgeon treated all eyes, and visual acuity and intraocular pressure was measured at 1 week, 1 month, and 3 months. Surgical success was defined as achieving an IOP between 8 to 21 millimeters or achieving 20% IOP reduction, and IOP of less than 8 was considered undesirable. We included all patients with IOP of more than 21 with refractive glaucoma, with advanced glaucomatous clumping, painful blind eye. We include patients who were poorly compliant, and all type of glaucomas who were refractory were included. We excluded patients with history of recent ocular surgery, who had ocular infection, inflammation, scleral thinning, and who were not willing for follow-up. A comprehensive ocular examination was done. IOP measurement was done in the baseline and post-procedure at 1 week, 1 month, and 3 months. The number and type of glaucoma medications used were noted. The procedure was done as I explained earlier. We had 55 eyes in our study. The average age was 56. Males were more. Secondary glaucomas were more in our study. Among the secondary glaucomas, post-trabeculectomized and AV valve surgeries were more. The average intraocular pressure pressures significantly decreased from the baseline in first week, 1 month, and 3rd month. By applying the surgical success criteria, which we had mentioned, the surgical success was attained at 1 week, 1 month, and 3rd month in all our patients. There was reduction in glaucoma medication usage in from 2.9 to 2, and one patient had hypotony. There was reduction in visual acuity from baseline in 15 eyes. Among that, 5 had more than 2-line difference, and 10 had 1-line drop in vision from the baseline. Coming on to discussion, there was a significant decrease in intraocular pressure and number of topical medication use and tablet use. There were no major complications noted in our study. Our success rate was similar to other studies. The slight reduction in vision could be explained possibly because of the transient postoperative inflammation, which was explained by Caranzaro et al. In his study, who also found a similar reduction in vision. Caranzaro et al. Also added that there was a reduction in efficacy of therapy with time. Poor response were noted in secondary glaucomas. Because of prolonged inflammation, there's a chronic fibrovascular change over the pars plana, and that can inhibit the penetration of laser. However, we had good response in our post-PK eyes. From the date of invention of this micropulse laser, there have been dozens of publications of micropulse laser with varying techniques and innovations. However, this was a latest publication from Journal of Glaucoma. It's a multi-center study which has studied on 143 patients. They have reported that micropulse laser definitely lowers the IOP. but the effect was short-term, and nearly half required additional IOP lowering intervention in the near future. And potential complications like decrease in vision should be explained to the patient when the vision is relatively good. The advantage in our study was it's done by a single surgeon and a uniform protocol was performed. The limitation was it had a very short follow-up, and detailed evaluation of adverse effects of inflammation and other by imaging was not performed. To conclude, micropulse laser is safe and effective for refractive glaucoma, but it is not the primary treatment of glaucoma. Patients can expect significant IOP lowering with reduction of medications. However, it is not permanent and laser augmentation might be required. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pratibha. And I am a co-author for this study, so I am not going to judge this paper. I request the panelists and the chair, co-chair to ask the questions.
As you rightly mentioned, that this study had, this technique is likely to have, long-term drift, the reduction in the efficacy. So are you continuing this study for future follow-up and then giving us more data in the near future?
We are continuing the study, sir, and we have not analyzed the results as of now, but we are continuing the study.
How much was the sweeping time?
Sweeping time was 80 seconds in the superior hemisphere and in the inferior hemisphere. So the total time we had done was 160 seconds, sir.
So was it not too high?
That is a standard protocol followed by the company. I think okay. I'm the person who has done the study actually. I was a single surgeon. And this is a standard protocol given by the company, and I've been following that for the last, now this is the 3rd year we have been doing it now. This is a standard, worldwide standard, and we have not changed the duration or the power. Occasionally in a second sitting or second time treatment, I sometimes reduce the power rather than change the duration. And the sweep time can be altered, the sweep duration can be altered and so on. But the exact duration I have generally not altered.
Okay, sir.
How many, since you say the effect is transient, and after how much time you note that pressure has returned to the baseline position, and how many times you can repeat it?
Sir, we have not analyzed our studies, but according to literature and according to the recent multi-center study, they have said nearly 50% of the eyes had needed retreatment by 11 months. They have done a study that their average duration of study was 12 months. And in their patients, they have found that 50% required retreatment. However, we would do our analysis, and we would also think of publication of that long-term efficacy, sir.
Amongst your indication, you have told painful blind eye.
Sorry, sir?
Amongst your indications for surgery,
yes, sir.
Given the painful blind eye.
Yes, sir.
What was the amount of IOP lowering we obtain in those patients? What's the need? Why we prefer this procedure there?
Sir, in painful blind eyes, the intraocular pressure is one of the reasons. When there is high intraocular pressure, there is painful blind eye. So in spite of maximum medications, when the pressure doesn't come down, we prefer doing this procedure because it is relatively safer than the conventional diode laser photocoagulation, wherein there are high chances of hypotonia. So we prefer micropulse laser even in painful blind eyes.
But what was the amount of IOP lowered by this procedure in the painful
I think maybe I could answer that. I think when painful blindness, essentially the need, as Dr. Pratibha pointed, the need for doing it was the reason for lower intraocular pressure in comparison to the continuous way which we were doing earlier. The IOP drop has actually been a little less than what we would observe for a post-PK glaucoma or for a neovascular glaucoma. We don't have a subgroup analysis of the extent of IOP lowering in different subgroups, but in my sort of so-called unpublished experience, I can tell you that the IOP lowering in painful blind eye with a very, very high pressures of 50, 60 and beyond with maximum medication would probably be about between 30 to 50% as compared to 25 to 30% with the other secondary glaucoma. But we don't have the exact data as yet.